welcome to another edition of Issues That Matter on City Mirror TV. I am your host, Boluwatife Adedogun, and with me I have a guest here. Is our person, Comrade Emmanuel Olowu. He's a social, economic, and civic rights advocate, and he will be discussing with me today on our program. Comrade Emmanuel, good morning. Welcome to our program.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be on the show today.
And how was the holiday?
Wow, the holiday was fantastic. Everybody went to see
I hope
Jesus.
you enjoyed the
We went
Easter.
to see Jesus in Galilee yesterday.
All right, that's good. That's good. While we were enjoying our Easter, another attack happened in Plateau State, and that's what we'll be discussing today. Residents of Plateau State are again on edge following fresh violence in Bakinladi local government area, where government killed 3 persons and injured another in an early morning attack on Pomo village. Curfews and several peace interventions. Attacks have continued to occur intermittently, raising concerns about the effectiveness of current security strategies. Now, we want to discuss why these things keep occurring. You know, we're still going to talk about it. We've been talking about this thing because even according to Yoruba, they say, Tino Batonla Show, we just be discussing about it because it keeps happening. Why do you think these things keep happening in same community? Why do you think they keep attacking same community?
Now, we are at this point because we are in a country where we have the law, but however, implementing the laws is now a very, very difficult task to our leaders. Let us quickly cite an examples. Farmers and herders clashes. Who are the farmers and who are the herders? The farmers are those who cultivate the lands. The herders are the ones who rears the cow. And you come into my farm with your cow, you eat up my farm, and you think I will not resist it. But the question we have to ask the Nigerian state is, when every of these things are happening, and there's another questions that we have to continue to ask the Nigerian government. If some set of people are raising cows, are having their own investment in cow rearing, should we continue to use their own investment to serve as a negative effect on other farmers, on other economic sector of the country? So in as much as it's an act of intruding and destroying another person's investment, there will always be crisis. So what we have seen there in those communities is as a result of the fact that the Nigerian people themselves, the Nigerian government themselves, are not really ready and are not doing the needful in ensuring that whoever commits a crime are being punished immediately. So we are where we are today for political reasons. I will say that it is for political reasons. If it's not for political reasons, the law is meant to guide everybody, every citizens of a state. Like I always say, every Christian that wants to go to paradise have to read the Bible. And every Muslim that wants to go to Al-Jannah will always read the Quran. However, anybody who wants to live peacefully in Nigeria must be guided by the Nigerian Constitution. And the Nigerian Constitution itself is above the Nigerian people, is above those in leadership. And what I am trying to say is that we are where we are, and there are repeated conflicts in those areas because some set of people are trying to overpower some set of people, and some set of people will have no other option than to restrict it. And that is why it is important for the Nigerian government to wake up to its responsibility.
Can you mention those set of people? You said some set of people are trying to...
No. When you look at what you read, it says that there are crises as a result of farmers and herders crisis.
Yes.
The farmers and the herders. If I have a farm as a farmer and somebody is now rearing his cow and bringing his cow into my farm, I will have to restrict it. I get it. I will have to restrict it. So there are some communal issues that have always been in those areas. And as a result of those communal issues, Badinladi, I don't know how to pronounce that community very well. This is a community that has been in that crisis. Bakinladi, even since the time of Jonathan. The experience attack in those places since the time of Jonathan. And if since the time of former President Goodluck Jonathan, the Nigerian government has not been able to solve the problem of that place, it tells us that those who have been leading this country are people who are docile and who are not ready to act.
The thing is, why is it not another state? Why not another state?
The question
why is that specific community?
You see, these are part of the questions we have to ask the Nigerian Security Force, specifically the DSS. part of the role of the Department of State Security is for them to be able to identify, to know, and to be able to know that an attack is coming up before that attack is being carried out. So the question is that if we are having repeated attacks there, and we claim that we have a Directorate of Security Service in Nigeria, then we have to question them. They are in the best position to tell us, because part of their role is for them to be able to identify that there is a security report that a crisis is going to take place in social place, and they have to be able to prevent it. And if they are unable to prevent it since the time of Jonathan till now, then we have to ask ourselves a question as Nigerian people: do we really have the Directorate of Security Service in Nigeria? If we have, are they doing their work as it is expected of them? Be that as it may. But the question that we have to, everything has to still fall back to the Nigerian government. And why it has to fall back to the Nigerian government is that it's the onus to protect life and property lies on the government as stated in the Constitution. So if we are having crisis there, in those places, the time of Jonathan till now, then we have to hold all those who are leading this country accountable.
Okay, now you say we have to hold them accountable, right? What do you think the government should have done, since they know that these specific communities have been attacked over and over again? What do you think they should have done better to protect them proactively?
Now, when you look at every of those axes that we talk about, the poverty level in those places are high. When we are talking about every of those places we are talking about, the education in that place is low. Now, I have discovered something. What makes the southwestern part distinct a bit and makes the entire Nigerian state is basically because we have education, Western education here. The Western education that the likes of Papa Olowu had imparted in us since the 1950s is what is still reflecting in us today. And these are areas where they are lacking in education. These are areas where poverty level has increased. So in a place or a society where there is a high level of poverty, there is always the tendency that this set of people are going to go into crime. And these are areas, an indication that the government had to look at. But the question now asking ourselves, has the government been doing anything that is going to uplift the life of the Nigerian people? If we all agree that the Nigerian government has always been failing in taking care of the common man in the country, then we have to come back and say they have failed. And that is one of the reasons why there are crises in every of those places.
Okay, what do you think the government should have done to protect them?
Now, what they should have done are this: number one, employ more security forces, deploy more security forces to every of those axes. Ensure of Nigeria across those axes are well mounted by immigration officers, so that arms will not be smuggled into that place. The Nigerian police needs more security force. Recruitment should be done, Nigerian police and the Nigerian army, more of them, so that we can be able to cover all these areas of crisis where we have crisis across the country. So what we are trying to say, we have to employ more police, we have to employ more Nigerians into the Nigerian army, we have to employ more Nigerians into the Nigerian immigration, at least to mount our borders. We have to create jobs for everybody, and we have to ensure that whenever anybody commits a crime, such persons are apprehended and dealt with, and that the judicial system of Nigeria the judicial processes have to be very, very fast. When we are talking about terrorism, anybody that is caught in the act of terrorism should be dealt with, and that the judicial system should ensure that the court processes are made to be very, very fast.
All right, thank you. Do you think there are insiders within these communities aiding these attacks?
You see, the fact of the matter is that nobody can come into my house and do some certain things without an insider operating.
Okay.
And that is why I will say it is easy for people in those communities to be motivated to join the bandits, to join the herders, to join the farmers, to attack our nations, because they are not in the right state of mind. An hungry man is an hungry man. When somebody has not eaten, when the looked at himself and looked at it that I have no future, that if I'm living my life, there's no hope for me, such person are easily bought.
All right. Do you think these communities are just intentionally left unprotected by the government?
You see, there is no forces there is no forces that can be much more powerful than a country. There is no forces that can be much more powerful than a country. If we all agree as such, then we have to come back and hold the Nigerian government responsible that there is a purpose for them letting such things happen. It is only if we are saying that there are some forces that are more powerful than the security force of a country. So, but if we are saying that the country, the Nigerian president, the Nigerian security force are much more powerful than any other security force in this country, then what we are trying to say is that the Nigerian security force have to be able to tackle the challenges in those axes head on.
Okay, now, do you think there are some communities that are more vulnerable than others? And what do you think those living in that communities are doing better?
Now, there are communities that are more vulnerable. Let us, for example, every community that shares borders with the likes of Chad, every communities, I can't pick those communities now. Every communities that shares borders with every of these foreign nations are more vulnerable. Because they are vulnerable because our immigrations are not working perfectly. If our immigration systems are working perfectly, if our border lines are well mounted as is expected of the Nigerian security space, then we can say they are not vulnerable. But as we speak, the Nigerian borders are said to be porous and are seen to be porous. So as a result of that porosity, there are some regions, there are some communities that are more vulnerable. Let us cite an example. Osogbo local government, for example, has never experienced any act of attack. But Olowu has always experienced a kind of attack by some terrorists that are operating in Kwara State. So the indication is, that's an example. If a place like Ora, Igbomina, that shares a boundary with Ila and that shares a boundary with Kwara State, is experiencing a form of attack, indication that every other state that shares boundary with every of these foreign countries are vulnerable to attack. But the question is that the Nigerian government itself is not helping the people. If for example, if the Nigerian police is not having enough staff, enough personnel, enough officers, what is expected of them is for them to organize the vigilante groups, begin to train them, train them, empower them to be able to work together with the Nigerian police in the solving of every of their community problems. So because the police itself has failed in carrying the people along, and that is why it is so easy for them to be sleeping and an attack is going to suddenly happen. And I said something initially, do we really have the DSS? Because part of the role of the DSS is to identify an attack before that attack is even carried on. It's been carried on. So if the DSS have not been able to do that for us, it's an indication that we should say we do not have a DSS security service operating in Nigeria.
All right, let's come back to the victims. What do you think these victims, these people can do to protect themselves? What do you think these communities can do to protect themselves?
You see, part of the first thing that we have to begin to ask the Nigerian government is that we have to begin to ask the Nigerian government that we have to create a trust fund. Every bandit, every compensation paid by the Nigerian people, we pay 10 million for bandits, we pay 10 million as ransom. Civil society organization have to stand up to tell the federal government to create a trust fund. Anybody that pays ransom, anybody that is a victim, it should be the duties and responsibility of the government to make such payments. I think the number one thing that we have to do is that if we make the government to pay through their nose, if we expose them, the more we force them to pay. Like a woman in Plateau, that the only child was killed, the woman held on to the dead body of the child. And the president went there and said, there's nothing I'm going to give that is going to... Yes, there is nothing that you can give that is going to enumerate the pain and whatever. But the government have to be responsible. Somebody shouldn't have raised a child of that age, and some set of people came in and killed such child, and the government is saying, yeah, there is no level of compensation that can be paid.
Do you think that compensation is that one not just medicine after death?
No, the fact is that
I'm talking about what
the individuals can do. I'm coming. There is nothing. You see, little is what the individual can do. Have we forgotten so easily the story of a farmer that a Fulani man attacked his farm one Sunday. It seems the name of that guy is Sunday. He attacks the Fulani man. They attack themselves. The Fulani man stabbed him with a knife. Luckily for him, he collected the knife and he stabs that Fulani man. The guy was eventually sentenced to death by hanging, despite the fact that it was so clear, as stated in newspaper report, that it was an attack against him in his farm. And because he overpowered the Fulani man and the Fulani man died, he was sentenced to death by hanging.
Now, don't you there's a constitution on that self-defense?
No. You see, even if you have a self-defense and you have a very good lawyer, at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to manslaughter. When a man dies, it is going to come back to a manslaughter. You cannot just go, even if there's self-defense, you must still have a good lawyer. But someone like the person I'm talking about cannot even afford to get a good lawyer, to get a lawyer that is going to defend him in court. And that is why anytime I'm having a discussion like this, I always say the Nigerian Bar Association have to wake up.
Our program, Issues That Matter, on where we discuss insecurity in Plateau State. So do you have anything to tell Nigerians and the government?
Well, what I only have to tell the Nigerian leaders is that if anybody is leading and you felt you do not have the capacity to deliver, it is better for the sake of the future generation of this country that you resign from office for those who have the capacity to attain such capacity to move the Nigerian forward.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you for coming to our show. And that will be the end of today's program. Have a wonderful day.